Welcome to Podcasts. Imagine a show that made millions of viewers root for a serial killer. In 2006, that's exactly what happened. Today, we're diving deep into Dexter Season 1, the groundbreaking series that changed how we think about morality on television.
Oh, and what a debut it was. The show absolutely shattered expectations right from the start.
Let's start with the basics for our listeners. What exactly was the premise of this first season?
So, Dexter Morgan is this fascinating character. He's a blood spatter analyst for Miami Metro Police Department by day and, well, a vigilante serial killer by night.
Wait, how does that even work? A serial killer working for the police?
That's the brilliant part. The show introduces us to what they call the Code, rules taught to Dexter by his adoptive father, Harry, who was also a cop. He only kills other killers who've escaped justice.
Ah, so that's how they get viewers to sympathize with him.
Exactly. And what's really interesting is how the show uses visual techniques to manipulate our emotions. The first season has this consistent use of cold colors and specific lighting.
Tell me more about that. What's the purpose behind those choices?
They deliberately use light coming down on characters' faces in almost every scene. It creates this psychological impact, this sense of being watched or judged.
That's fascinating. And I heard something interesting about Dexter's voice throughout the season.
Yes, Michael C. Hall actually makes Dexter's voice progressively lighter and more friendly as the episodes go on. It's this subtle way of making viewers more comfortable with him.
That's such a clever technique. Now, let's talk about the main antagonist, the ice truck killer.
This is where the show really excels. The ice truck killer targets prostitutes, leaving their bodies severed and completely bloodless.
And this becomes personal for Dexter, right?
Very personal. Because, and this is a major spoiler, the ice truck killer turns out to be Dexter's biological brother, Brian Moser.
That must have been quite a shock for viewers when it was revealed.
Absolutely. And it ties into the season's overarching theme of individualism. Dexter has to choose between his brother, who represents freedom from rules, and Harry's strict code.
Speaking of success, this show was huge for Showtime, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, the pilot episode alone gave them their highest ratings in nearly 2 years. The finale drew 1.1 million viewers in the US.
And didn't something unprecedented happen with the show later?
Yes, it became the first premium cable show in 20 years to air on network television when CBS picked it up. That's how mainstream its appeal became.
Let's talk about the critical response. How was it received?
Critics loved it. The New York Daily News called it bold, different, and exciting, with a central character and performance that take your breath away.
Though not everyone was completely comfortable with the premise, right?
Right. The Wall Street Journal worried about viewers becoming desensitized to the violence, but that moral complexity is part of what made it so compelling.
And the show maintained strong ratings throughout the season?
Absolutely. It averaged about 2 million viewers per episode when you factor in DVR viewers, which was huge for Showtime at the time.
Let's talk about Dexter's relationships. His sister, Deborah, plays a huge role, doesn't she?
Yes, Jennifer Carpenter plays Deborah Morgan, Dexter's adoptive sister. She's a vice squad officer aspiring to work in homicide.
And there's also Rita, Dexter's girlfriend.
Right, played by Julie Benz. Their relationship is fascinating because Rita's past trauma makes her perfect for Dexter. She's not ready for physical intimacy, which suits his need to keep emotional distance.
That's such a clever character dynamic.
And what's interesting is how Rita's character develops. As she gains confidence throughout the season, she starts questioning Dexter more.
Let's talk about Dexter's origin story, which we learn about in this season.
Yes, we learned that when Dexter was 3, he witnessed his mother being murdered with a chainsaw. That trauma shaped who he became.
That's horrifying. And this ties into the ice truck killer storyline?
Exactly. Brian Moser was there too. He was Dexter's older brother. But while Dexter was adopted by Harry Morgan, Brian ended up in the foster system and eventually a mental hospital.
The show really explores nature versus nurture, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Both brothers experienced the same trauma, but their paths diverged because of Harry's influence on Dexter, teaching him the code.
And this season was based on a book, right?
Yes, it's adapted from Jeff Lindsay's novel Darkly Dreaming Dexter. Actually, it was the only season to closely follow the books. Later seasons went their own way.
That's interesting. Why do you think they made that choice?
Well, the show had found its own voice. The characters had evolved beyond their book counterparts, and they wanted to explore new directions.
Let's talk about the supporting cast. Who were some of the key players?
We had Eric King as Dokes, Lauren Velez as La Guerda, David Zayas as Angel Batista, all these characters who work with Dexter at Miami Metro.
And they all have no idea who he really is.
Well, Dokes suspects something's off about Dexter. He's the only one who seems to sense that there's something dark behind the friendly facade.
That must create some intense moments.
Definitely. The tension between Dexter and Dokes becomes one of the most compelling elements of the show.
Let's talk about the finale. How does the season wrap up?
It culminates in this incredible confrontation between Dexter and Brian, where Dexter has to choose between his biological brother and his adoptive sister.
And he chooses Deborah.
Right. He ultimately stays true to Harry's code, showing that his adopted family and their values mean more to him than his biological connections.
It's really a perfect setup for the rest of the series.
Absolutely. It establishes all the key themes that the show would continue to explore: morality, family, identity, and the struggle between darkness and light.
And the ratings proved people were ready for this kind of complex anti-hero.
Exactly. Dexter really helped pave the way for other morally ambiguous protagonists on television.
What do you think made people connect with Dexter despite his dark nature?
I think it's because the show makes us question our own moral boundaries. Plus, Michael C. Hall's performance is just so nuanced and compelling.
And the show really maintains that balance between horror and humanity.
That's what makes it special. It's not just about the kills, it's about family, connection, and trying to find your place in the world.
Even if that place is rather unusual.
Exactly. The show asks us, can someone be good while doing bad things? It's a question that still resonates today.
What a perfect way to wrap up our discussion of this groundbreaking first season.
And remember, as Dexter would say, tonight's the night to start watching season 1 if you haven't already.
Thanks for joining us on Podcasts. Keep watching the shadows. You never know what you might find there.